So you're welcome today, and we shall continue to speak about demand and supply. As you remember, last time we spoke about these categories, which are very important for the economic analysis, as at micro and at macro levels. As you remember, we spoke about demand, which was very important as a first category in the combination with the supply. Today, the main topic is supply and equilibrium price. But just before speaking about supply, I would like to stress upon the main issues, or rather the main points as far as demand is concerned. Please, you remember that demand and supply are very important as a tool for the analysis, and very many prominent scientists, scholars paid a lot of attention to scrutinizing and rather to researching as well as to considering these two categories. And we have spoken about Adam Smith, David Ricardo, as well as Stanley Jevons, Carl Menger, Valdras, Alfred Marshall. And we said that demand plays a crucial role at a microeconomic level, because we are to know the cash flows, we are to know the current and strategic plans of course, households and so on and so forth. So there we were distinguishing two things. Quantity demanded, as you remember, that is the number of units of a good which can be bought by a consumer, but the consumer, of course, can buy, or rather can afford to buy, as well as any consumer will wish to buy a commodity or a good. So here we have two very important things. That is the wish, the desire, as well as the ability. It's very important, and we said that you have to distinguish the quantity demanded and demand itself. When we're speaking about the determinants, I'm not repeating the determinants of quantity demanded. I think you remember them. But of course, when we are to speak about supply, the determinants of quantity supplied and of supply will be different. But it's very important to know the other thing, that is the function or demand as a function, the demand in the table form and graphically. These are the forms of the depiction of that relationship which exists between quantity demanded and all possible prices at which the consumers will desire and will buy, or rather afford to buy those goods. When, and it's very important to stress upon, when all other determinants of quantity demanded are constant or are being equal. So we're speaking about the relationship between the quantity demanded and the price of that commodity. I would like to stress upon again that demand can be depicted in a table form. We shall take the same form of demand and we shall connect it together with the supply. So I would like to stress upon again that we are to speak about demand curve, and if you understood that demand curve, then it would be very easy for you to take the supply curve. I would like to stress upon again the demand curve, the demand curve. So here it's very important to say not the demand itself, but demand, the quantity demanded. I would like to pay your attention to that graph, to that curve. And I told you that sometimes there are some mistakes, rather, and I ask you rather to pay your attention to that point of view. So just now we shall speak about the supply, that is the other category. By the way, supply is very important not only because it is closely connected with the demand and the interaction of demand and supply will rather make the settlement of a price of any commodity. Supply is studied in microeconomics and macroeconomics as well, and economists have a lot of questions to production of goods and services, the changes which take place in the production of commodities. For instance, at time being, everybody knows that in many countries, in GDP, the services and the service industries prevail, for instance, over manufacturing. And I would like to show you the following table where there is the decomposition of GDP in the United States of America. We shall speak about GDP a little bit later, and I'll tell you in details how it is rather calculated with the methods which are very important to measure the GDP. But in general, just now, I would like to tell you that GDP is rather a total value of all final products, of all final goods and services which are produced, which are manufactured rather in the territory, on the territory of a country for a specific period of time, rather a year. There are some methods to measure it, but still, if we take, for instance, total GDP, and take only these years, that is 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2012, and the data which I have taken from the economic report of the President this year, 2013, we shall see that GDP, as well as distinguished or decomposed as far as the consumption of the products, they are, as well as the production itself, not by the industries and not by the sectors, but still, we'll see goods and services. And here, in this column, we'll see the percentage of GDP yeah, in the goods, in the production of goods, and here in the production of services. Also, the percentage of GDP is shown here as far as the services are concerned. So you can see that the services take a much larger share as compared to the goods, about 60 or even more than 60%. Yeah? So if you take this total number, it won't be 100% because there are some other parts in the GDP, that is the government expenditures as well as the net export. So here in these figures, the other parts, that is, I'm repeating, the government purchases as well as net export are not accounted. But even if we take these figures, yeah, we can see that the GDP goes up and up, yeah, to this year, yeah, last year, and the number of the services in percentage of GDP is more than 60%. So, to answer all those questions about the production in general, we are to take the other category such as supply. Of course, when the people would like to buy something, the goods should be produced. And that's why we'll take this category to show how the production is taking place and how many goods will be produced and manufactured to satisfy the desires, the wants, the needs of the consumers. So we are again to know the determinants of commodities to be produced and offered for sale, or rather this category. This category can be considered again in the same way as demand. So we are to tackle upon with again such things as in the demand section. Only there we were speaking about the quantity demanded, but here we shall speak about quantity supplied. Over there we were speaking about demand, and here we shall speak about supply itself. So again, first of all, I would like to pay your attention, your kind attention, to this term, which is called quantity supplied. A quantity supplied is considered to be the number of units producers are willing to offer for a sale, and of course here we are to speak about a specified period of time. Let it be a month, a year, a quarter, and so on. What determines, what factors will influence this quantity supplied? They are different. Of course, here in this slide, we didn't mention all of them, but they can be continued. I mean, the list of the determinants of quantity supplied can be continued. First of all, production costs, or in other words, how much a good costs to be produced. In other words, we may say that here we are to speak about the resources which are purchased by producers to manufacture this or that commodity. Those resources which are used for the production are usually called inputs. And of course, some of the resources are very expensive, like for instance oil or the other inputs here. And if the price of these resources go up, then it would be very difficult for the producers to manufacture for getting revenue, for getting profit, and so on. So this is one of the determinants, this is one of the factors which influence the quantity supplied. The other one, technology. Technology which is used in the process of production. Of course, we know that technological advances are very important for the production. And when the technology is being changed, then it will be easier to produce, it would be not so costly to produce this or that commodity. Then a goods on price will show that, for instance, it is a price of a commodity, let it be of a commodity X, yeah? I didn't tell you that the production costs or the price of resources will be in our presentation, in my presentation, shown as a PR. Technology by T, and for instance, firms' expectations about future prices, just the same as it was in demand, quantity demanded, yeah. We took just the same letter E, expectations, or the number of suppliers, yeah, the number of suppliers. Of course, this number is very important because the more the suppliers will manufacture the same good, the same commodity, these goods will appear in the market in, of course, larger amounts and volumes. So, if we speak about all those determinants, yeah, and we can add, for instance, taxes. When tax rates go up, of course, it will be difficult or more difficult for the producers to produce, to manufacture more goods. And if the tax rates go down, it will influence the production of the goods naturally, because then the producers will have money for the implementation of new technologies, and of course they will produce more goods. So if we take all those determinants here, we may say that the quantity demanded shown as quantities, quantity supplied, over any commodity, let it be commodity X, can be depicted and presented as the function over these determinants rather. That is, over price of a commodity, or the price of resources, technology, expectations, the number of suppliers, and as I said, this list can be continued, and we may take, for instance, taxes and some other factors. Now, we may go on and see that supply, after considering the determinants of the quantity supplied. So supply refers to the total relationship between quantity supplied and all possible prices, where all other determinants stand still or are being equal, are being constant. So we're taking only the relationship between these two things, quantity supplied and the price of this commodity, while all other items or determinants, let us say taxes, technologies, expectations, the number of suppliers, are being equal or are being constant. And if we would like to know the relationship between the quantity supplied and, for instance, technologies, we are to take that function of these two things here, of these two determinants, while the other ones will be equal or will be constant. That is, the price of the commodity, the price of the resources, the expectations, the taxes, the number of suppliers, and so on. Supply as well as demand can be presented by three forms. As a function, here, this kind. Yes. Then in a table form and graphically. If we take the table form, then we are to speak about supply schedule. Supply schedule. Supply schedule is taken as a table showing the quantities of the producers, the quantities that producers desire to sell at various prices during a specified period of time, holding all the other determinants being equal. And if we take, for instance, different kinds of variants of the same commodity, I'm stressing that here we are to speak about the same commodity, yeah, and there are some variants. What are they? If the price per unit in dollars, let us say $10, yeah, 15, 20, 25, 30, and 35, how many goods will be supplied by the sellers, by the producers? And if the price is 10, yeah, let us say that the quantity supplied will be 50. And for instance, when it is 25, it is 480, and so on. So in this column, where we see the price per unit, and this column, which shows the quantity supplied, these figures will show that when the price of the commodity goes goes up, yeah, let us say from $10 to 35, the quantity supplied will go up, will increase from 50 to 670 at the price of 35. And rather, it's the law of supply as in contrast to the law of demand. We know when the price goes down, the quantity demanded would be higher. So we may say that this is the table form, yeah? And there is another, the third one. The third one, this is a graphic one, or we can depict supply in a graphically form. Supply curve stands as a graphical depiction of a supply schedule. What does it show? It shows the quantities that producers are eager or would like to sell the goods because they are prepared for it, they are ready for it, and they will wish to do it, and they are able to offer for sale that quantity which would be good for them at alternative prices of that commodity. So again, if we take the graph, yeah, and if we take the supply curve, we may say that it represents the relation between the quantity supplied, yeah, and the prices, Again, it's very important to know, to remember that the other determinants will be constant or will be the same. The quantity supplied during a specified period of time can be changed and will change as the price of that commodity changes. And if you look at this graph here, you will see that, for instance, when the price is $3, yeah, the quantity supplied will be rather a little bit more than 50. Let us say 53. So it means that at this price, yeah, the quantity supplied will be equal to 53. When the price goes up, let us say to $8, then according to the same graph here, we'll see that at this price, the quantity supplied will be 92. What does it mean? It means that the producers are willing to offer for sale this number of the goods, and they are sold. So they have already found the consumers. So this curve again shows a very interesting thing, that when the price goes up from $3 to $8, yeah, the quantity supplied will go up. and of course vice versa, vice versa. If you take, for instance, the price at 5, yeah, or $5, so the number which is supplied will be somewhere here between 70 and 18 and 18. On this cover, as well as on the table, yeah, we could see that the higher the price of a commodity, the larger the quantity that will be supplied, other things being equal. That's why we may say that following this law, the law of supply, the supply curve will be represented as upward sloping, just here, yeah? So on this graph, on the graph of supply curve, this law of supply, yeah, is just vividly seen. By the way, some determinants may influence the supply curve, and if some changes take place in the factors, the curves will go rather up or down. If, for instance, there are some changes in the number of suppliers, in the number of producers, so these producers will supply more goods to the market, then the supply curve will go to the right, showing that the supply curve, yeah, has changed, and at each price, yeah, the number of the supplied goods was changed, and it was much more. It was much more. So let us say that the increase, yeah, and we shall repeat again, that the increase in the quantity supplied at each price, yeah, will shift the supply curve to the right side, and it will be from supply 0 to supply 1. But if there is, for instance, the decrease in the quantity supplied, let us say that the number of producers changed and they became less, then it should be depicted in such a way that the supply curve will change, it will be shifted to the left, and we say that it will be a leftward shift. So here we shall see that it is just supply the curve number 2 or supply the curve at 2. Of course, it's very important to stress upon the idea about the individual and the market curves. Economists distinguish between the supply curve at an individual firm and market supply curve. The market supply curve is obtained by summing up the quantities supplied by all the producers, all the manufacturers at each potential price. So we may say that the graph of the supply curve when it is taken for a market, then the individual curves will be horizontally summed up, and the market supply curve will be depicted and will be presented. Also, we shall speak a little bit later about the short run and the long run. But even here, it's just for a short discussion. I would like to tell you that we are to distinguish long-term and short-term rather periods. Why? Because in the short run, we can change different kinds of the production forces or other factors of production resources. But in the long run, all the resources can be considered as variable, all of them. Later on, we shall speak about it in more details. But just now, it's important to remember that the availability of one or more fixed inputs, for instance, physical capital and some others, the number of the firms and so on, and such factors are to be taken into consideration when we are looking at the presentation of the supply curve in the market as a whole. In the long run, a firm can change the resources, and it adjusts physical capital or some resources to rather produce more goods, more commodities, and sometimes even we say that the long-run market supply curves are flatter as compared to their short-run counterparts. Now we are going on to a very, I should say, important question and issue. That is the settlement over a price as far as the influence over demand and supply is concerned. At the very beginning of the lecture, last time I told you that demand and supply are very important categories, are rather crucial categories in the determination of a price in the market. So here you can see two curves, supply curve and demand curve. A blue one is represented by supply, and a red one by demand. The interaction of these two curves results in the determination of the price of that good, of any good rather. And the unit price for a particular good will of course vary, but it settles at the point where quantity demanded, this is the price, and if we take the curve of demand, we shall see this price the quantity demanded. At the same time, we can see that this portion of the quantity belongs to the quantity supplier at this current price. Of course, we are taking into account that all the other determinants do not change, they are constant. And this interaction shows us that the price is settled at the point where these two categories, quantity demanded and quantity supplied, are just the same, they are equal. And that's why we may say and state rather that this price is equilibrium price, and this quantity is equilibrium quantity. Just the same thing can be seen when we take those tables which I have shown you when we were speaking about demand and supply. Just I can go tell you about this. I'm in this table, yeah? I'm in this table when we're speaking about demand, and the other table when we were speaking about the category of supply, yeah? These are two schedules. So look here. Just the same quantities which are supplied and which are demanded at the variance of the prices, and we are speaking about the same commodity. Let us see apples, for instance, packages, and these packages are taken in thousands of units. Let it be computers, books, anything like that, or any commodity. If the price is $10, yeah, the quantity demanded is 700, while the quantity supplied will be only 50. So we may say that the desire of the consumers, yeah, is equal to 700, while the quantity supplied is only 50. So here there is a shortage. 650, yeah, is the shortage of the goods which couldn't be supplied and cannot be supplied by the producers to satisfy the needs of the consumers. If we take, for instance, the price, which is equal to 35, yeah, and at this price, the quantity demanded, so the wishes of consumers is equal to, or are equal to 100, while the producers can supply for sale only 670, it means that here we have the excess. So 570 will be the excess. They cannot be sold, rather, because the consumers need only 100. And if we take this row, yeah, this line, we can see that if the price settles at $20, the quantity demanded is equal just to the same amount, 350 here and here, yeah, and here. And this amount is the amount which makes the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied equal. That's why the price of $20 is considered to be equilibrium price, and the quantity of 300 yarn can be considered as the equilibrium quantity. So we may say again that the equilibrium price is the price at which the quantity demanded equals the quantity supplied. I would like to stress upon this item, and even in the assignments, I would like to ask you to prepare your answer as far as the following statement is concerned. Is it correct when we say the equilibrium price is the price when demand equals true supply? I would like to pay your attention, your special attention, that this statement is not correct. You please try to follow and to understand that the equilibrium price is the price when the quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. This is very important. So here in this slide we see that the shortage is an excess of quantity demanded over quantity supplied. Of course, it means that the buyers cannot purchase all the goods which are offered for sale by suppliers, and excess demand leads to an upward pressure on price as compared to the excess. Excess supply, or sometimes it is called a surplus, is an excess of quantity supplied over quantity demanded, and excess supply results in a downward pressure on price. So when we have this surplus, sellers cannot sell the quantities they desire to supply as well to offer for sale. So it's very important to come upon to the equilibrium situation where no inherent forces that produce change, and changes away from an equilibrium position will occur only as a result of outside events that disturb the status quo. Of course, there are some factors will influence, and we know that there are determinants, which influence both demand and supply. And a rise in demand when supply remains unchanged causes an increase in both the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. I would like to show you on the graph. So this is the picture where we can see how the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantities will be changed under the impact of the demand increase or supply increase. If we take the initial stage that is demand curve, a red one, and a green one presenting supply, we shall see that the intersection of these two curves gives us the price P1, yeah, price number one, and quantity one, which stands as equilibrium. Now, let us say that demand under some circumstances will be changed and it will be increased. For instance, when the number of consumers will be changed, the number of income, yeah, or rather the volume of income, the value of income changes, then the people are ready to buy more goods. So this change, yeah, will be depicted, will be shown by the new curve, this curve, yeah, violet curve. It's a new demand. And here we can see that when there is this kind of the shift, yeah, the changes will be in the following way. The price, yeah, will be changed. It will be higher if we speak about the same supply curve, yeah. So the intersection will be here, as well as the number of goods supplied will be much more as compared to this amount. And when we take the supply curve, this is the initial one, yeah, and if, for instance, the number of suppliers, of producers goes up, yeah, so the quantity of goods will be more supplied at each price, like here, yeah? And that's why in U, supply curve will appear. So here we may say about different kinds of changes, and we may say that there are some basic laws of supply and demand, which are the following. A rise in demand when supply remains unchanged causes an increase in both the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. A fall in demand while supply remains unchanged causes a decrease in both the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. When we're speaking about the supply, about the changes in the supply curve, we may notice that a rise in supply, yeah, when demand remains unchanged, it is still, yes. So these kind of the changes lead to a lower equilibrium price and a higher equilibrium quantity. And the fourth law, a fall in supply when demand remains unchanged results in a higher equilibrium price and lower equilibrium quantity. So these laws will be needed for the explanation in the future. Maybe next time we shall speak the other theme where these laws will be needed for us, because they show how the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity take changes, yeah? So, the last item I would like to speak, this is the government effect on the price settlement and the determination. Of course, the government takes some measures to settle some prices. For instance, minimum wages rate, yeah? And we see that there are some floor price and the other ceiling price. Usually, the floor price, yeah, which is set up by the government, it is higher as compared to the equilibrium price, while the ceiling price, yeah, will be below the equilibrium price. This kind of the floor price usually takes place in the factor markets. Factor markets or resources markets, yeah? And the other price, that is ceiling price, can take place, and usually takes place when we are speaking about deficit goods markets. And in this and that area, we are to deal with the so-called black or gray markets. You please think over about them, and maybe you will give me some examples in your countries of these black or gray markets. And the other, I think, assignments. So please, you prepare your answers to the following questions as what is the difference between supply and quantity supplied? Do you agree with the statement, the quantity of a commodity that is supplied is a flow or not? Then the assignment concerns, the other assignment concerns the shape of the supply curve, as well as the factors or determinants of the supply and of the quantity supplied. Then number 9, yeah, excuse me. Then the other one, you will answer the question about the equilibrium price. You are to prepare the comments about the statements when we see the equilibrium price and the price is the price when demand equals to supply. I told you that is not correct, but you will try to show it. And of course, it's very important to know what measures are taken by the government in each country to regulate the market prices above or below the equilibrium price, yeah, and how the so-called black markets are going to the stage, unfortunately, but this is the situation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.